Welcome back to Loyalty Leaders Podcast. David Feldman here, chair of Loyalty Summit, and I'm joined today by Henry Christian. And Henry, if you don't follow him on LinkedIn, well, you should. But if you don't follow him on LinkedIn, Henry is well known for posting some serious nuggets of information and insights for loyalty leaders, regardless of whether you are a first timer in a loyalty team or a senior leader in a very large loyalty program. Henry posts a lot of home truths about the role of loyalty leaders, and we're going to explore those today. But Henry, welcome to Loyalty Leaders Podcast, and maybe for those who don't know who you are or your background in loyalty, maybe a quick introduction and sort of how you fit into loyalty and how you got into loyalty.
Sure, David. Happy to be here. I've been wondering when I'll have the chance to be the guest on your podcast. So finally, here I am. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Henry Christian. I've been around the block a few times in the loyalty industry. I've been privileged enough to have designed, led, and launched coalitions loyalty programs in Southeast Asia, in Singapore, in Indonesia, and in Malaysia. I've also worked for the GoTo Group, which is the largest mobility food delivery and fintech organizations in Southeast Asia as well. So all in the field of customer loyalty, but I've put on different hats from product management, general management, marketing, operations, you name it. I've probably done it as well. And that's the reasons why I think I can appreciate with some of the challenges and the pain that some of the loyalty practitioners are facing right now in the industry.
I think pain points of loyalty practitioners, that's a good way to describe what we talk about, and certainly what we engage with on LinkedIn. And for those that follow Henry, daily insights into the pain. And sometimes it's a little comical, sometimes it's a little tongue in cheek, and we poke fun of ourselves, in terms of, hey, the daily life of a loyalty leader isn't always glamorous. But one of the things that we see in terms of insights that comes through at our Loyalty Summit in-person events, and Phil Rubin and I were just talking about this last week in terms of Loyalty Summit CXM, is one of the comments that we seem to get a lot of that comes through at panels on stage and things like that, is the challenges that loyalty leaders have in their organizations, and particularly, in terms of other stakeholders in organizations, whether it's talking up to the C-suite or the CFO and finance, or, cross matrix when you talk about perhaps marketing or even operations, IT, these are challenges of loyalty managers that perhaps first time or aspiring loyalty managers don't often think about. If I think to your typical aspiring or entry level loyalty manager, or loyalty team member, loyalty is exciting, loyalty is sexy. Now, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of brands that we can all point to with Me Too programs that really are not attractive at all, and we know those as consumers. We're at the checkout, somebody says, do you want to sign up? And we're like, why? Just charge my card, just right. Hurry up, put things in the bag, please. Like, no, I don't want to give you my phone number, my birthday. I don't want to waste any more time. I want to pay for my stuff and I want to get out of the store. But we also know there's plenty of sexy programs. If we think frequent flyer programs, hotel programs, some of the more engaged retailers and brands where, we're like, oh yeah, well, I love being part of this brand or a member of this program, whether it's for the benefits or the sense of community. And as consumers, we know there's a whole spectrum of those. So loyalty can be kind of sexy and attractive. And if you're an aspiring loyalty practitioner, you could think, oh, this is cool. I'm going to work on a lot of pro-customer initiatives. I'm going to come up with things to build relationships with customers and promotions. And, I'm going to give away, points and redemptions. And, I'm going to focus on customer engagement. And these are all cool, attractive parts of the job, I think. Feel free to disagree with me on that, but I think those are attractive parts of the job. But then there's the stuff in the background when you actually get into the role that you end up working on. Can you talk a little bit about that contrast between perhaps expectations of loyalty managers and team members versus the reality when you're suddenly in the role?
Right. I think there are a lot of mundane, operational, non-sexy stuff that forms the bulk of the day-to-day task of a loyalty manager, right? And I think one of the biggest things that makes the role of loyalty to be very challenging, regardless of which companies a loyalty manager works in, it's that there is no, unlike finance, unlike marketing, unlike technology, where where does loyalty fit in? Or I'll rephrase it, where does loyalty supposed to report to, right? And very often, I think 8 out of 10 times, it's part of marketing. Is it right to be part of marketing? I think we need another podcast to discuss about that, right? I have a strong opinion about that. Quick answer: I don't think so, right? And then of course there are people who says that, well, you need to have a chief loyalty officers reporting to the CEO. But let's be real, not every company requires a CLO equivalent to lead the whole loyalty team, right? So starting from where, not knowing or not feeling very sure where loyalty functions should be a part of, that in itself makes the whole role of loyalty to be very challenging, right? Because you're sort of that kid that everyone talks about, but then like, so which family does he belong to? Right? Well, I don't know, right? Maybe it's part of mine, maybe it's not mine, right? But that's the reason, and the reasons why it's hard to park loyalty to be just under one functions is the nature of, uh, or rather the KPI, the deliverables that loyalty have to do, right? I know I joke a lot about, well, does it take one person to do every bit of these things? But the fact is that the loyalty managers, number one, need to be able to run marketing. Yeah, CRM. That's a given. But at the same time, loyalty manager also needs to be good with their financial acumen. Not, you don't have to be an accountant, but certainly you need to know what does points liability actually mean. How do you measure the uplift of your revenue? How do you manage your costs? Right. So financial management forms a big part of it. You need to have a good stakeholder management skill within your organizations because you want them to support your programs. But if your programs also has an external partnerships component in it, you need to be very good with that as well in trying to convince your external partners to be part of your programs one way or another, to support your program, right? Um, Very often you need to be very proficient in technology as well, because then you need to deal with whether your platforms is built in-house or whether you outsource it to a third party. You need to know not just from a user's perspective, but you need to know, can I easily integrate it to my POS system? Can I easily integrate it to my other CRM system? If I want to have a request, if I have a request for the next to improve my platforms, where does this fit in the product roadmap? How do I convince my tech counterparts to prioritize my features over the others, right? So all these things makes me, people ask me, it's like, what if I want to be a loyalty manager? What should I study in school, right? There is no such thing as, well, maybe there should be, but there is no such thing as like, well, loyalty marketing degree. There isn't, right? I'm pretty sure my degree, your degree, someone else's degree, it's different from what we learn in school and to what we do today, right? But I think a good loyalty manager needs to be a generalist, right? Because the very fact that you need to deal with the different facets of the organizations, to be really good in what you do, and at the same time, that's what makes it tricky to be a loyalty manager.
You're making me think, Henry, and you covered a lot there, and a lot of people might walk away with like, oh my, it's so overwhelming, all these other things, but it's interesting. And let's kind of work in reverse a little bit in terms of being a generalist. I mean, one of the good things about the new generation today is everybody is reasonably tech savvy, and that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that IT is not, for most people, IT is not as scary
Mm-hmm.
an area as it used to. People understand. Okay, those guys, they they manage the. They're not just the guys telling me to change my password every
Yeah.
6 days. Although they are. They're all but you know. People understand perhaps even a little bit of the app development or something like that,
Sure.
even if they haven't done it, but they understand it because they have 250 apps on their phone, so they
Sure.
understand some of that. They also have experience with, well, this app is horrible to use versus, oh, I
Yeah.
really love logging in and checking my points balance with this airline that I'm a member of, and various even non-loyalty related things. So I don't think IT is as scary as it used to be for people. I think project management was one thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
when you were talking just there, I thought to myself, look, there's three areas that jump into my mind as you were talking. One is
Mm-hmm.
marketing. Although the problem is most people who go down the route of marketing then myopically are within that very small
Mm-hmm.
confine of marketing. So I wouldn't pursue marketing. But if you were doing like a marketing 101 as a non-core subject in your degree, that's great. I think that I think project management is a huge one. Being able to
Mm-hmm.
understand, even
Mm-hmm.
just again, 101 is all you really need with that, but just understand so you can talk some of the language. Because then when you are in negotiations with IT or similar for resource allocation and prioritization of your initiatives, you can understand their language and how
Yeah.
they're thinking about prioritizing those things. I think the other aspect is finance. I think we could have a whole podcast on loyalty finance. We could have a whole podcast on
Mm-hmm.
marketing
Mm-hmm.
versus loyalty. But we could probably have a series of them. But I think that finance is scary to people. The
Mm-hmm.
taxes are scary. Going to the dentist is scary. Understanding accounting and finance is scary for most people. And I'm sure your experience mirrors mine. That doesn't matter whether the loyalty team is one person or
Mm-hmm.
300 people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a maximum of 2 to 3 people in that team who actually understand loyalty finance and
Absolutely.
liabilities and breakage and things like that, and the accounting around that. You could have 1,003 people in the team, and there's still only 3 people that understand it. And it's usually the head of loyalty, regardless of whether they're a one-man
Absolutely.
show or they're
Yeah.
a SVP or a C-suite executive. And there's, if the team is big enough, there's probably a loyalty accountant on the team or similar. Um, I think those are the areas where even if you had a 101 understanding of, again, non-core, but just you're taking it for some extra credit in a
Mm-hmm.
class or something, I think those are things that are really helpful for people just to sort of understand the language, if nothing else. So when people are talking about, something to do with finance or something to do with project management, it's not completely over your head, and you actually
Yeah.
can engage in the conversation in the room, because that's how these are the people you have to partner with in your
Yeah.
organization. I think what you just said there, I think that's an important takeaway for people to understand, is you have to partner with these people in your organizations. Interesting on marketing. A couple of other points that you called out that I wanted to comment on. I mean, marketing, I mean, you and I have had long discussions about this. It's sort of a fun debate
Yeah.
because it's like fishing, you don't even have to put bait on the
Mm.
end of the hook. You throw it
Yeah.
out there and
I
everything.
know.
But here's the thing, is that in the purest sense, marketers are about the 4 Ps,
Mm-hmm.
and that's great. And that's not our area of expertise as a loyalty practitioner. But loyalty isn't about that,
Mm-hmm.
although sometimes you do fit under marketing and organization. Loyalty is about relationships, isn't it? It's
Absolutely.
about member behavior, it's about attitudes, and it's about relationship between the brand and the customer, and the customer and the brand. Now, some people will argue it's about data and all the rest of it. I say those are flow-ons. Those are deliverables that come from
Yeah.
loyalty. They're not. That's not loyalty itself, but that's something loyalty can help you with. Commentary on that. Sort of 4 Ps versus behavior and attitudes.
I think the discipline of I think if you talk to a CMO right now, they will tell you that, well, no, we care about customer relationships too, right? We don't just care about the 4 Ps, right? I've had these discussions with CMOs, and they're right. But I think the risk of parking loyalty within marketing is that the word marketing in itself. I'm not diminishing marketing at all. I think it's an important discipline. It's also can be a complex and often misunderstood discipline as well, right? But the terminology marketing in itself, there's a lot of facets within marketing, right? And the risk is if you park loyalty within marketing and it becomes just one of the facets of marketing, that's not good enough because to your point, um, customer relationships cannot just be one of the things that the whole team does. It needs to be owned. It needs to be the main dish, right? It cannot just be the icing on the cake. It needs to be the whole thing that the whole company focus on, and it's not just marketing. It's not just product, but the loyalty team needs to build up the awareness. Why, what is the role that finance should play? What is the role that operations should play in order to win that customer's loyalty, right? And I've always said that customer loyalty is not just won by the loyalty team, but of course you need to have a loyalty team, a loyalty manager to drive that. But I always see the loyalty team as an orchestrator, right? And say, hey, you do this, you do that, you do that, right? And everyone plays together as a team. Then that's where loyalty is actually won, right? So I've always seen loyalty team as an orchestrator. Yes, that doesn't mean that you don't own KPIs that you need to drive on solely by you, right? But if you do this in isolation, you'll fail, right? So
that's a really good point, and I think we joke and we pick on that marketers pigeonhole
yeah,
loyalty, in the wrong way. I mean, we're as guilty as that as well. I mean, we pigeonhole
absolutely,
marketing, but the reality is you're right. Marketing is very complex in its own self, and every organization's structure of marketing is different.
absolutely,
We talk about digital marketing, we talk about CRM. These are the
absolutely.
things that to a very lay person you would think, oh, these are all marketing functions, but CRM, you already mentioned, it's part of loyalty. You have a relationship with the customer. I'm sure you've had the same. I've lost count of how many arguments and debates you have inside of organizations, or there are inside of organizations where they ask you to help kind of deliberate on as to who owns the customer, who's
There
allowed
you
to talk
go.
to the customer. Does the
There you
customer
go.
get emails from marketing, and then they get emails from loyalty, and then they get emails from somebody else, and it's all under the same brand? And the customer's like, why am I getting three completely different tones of
Absolutely.
messages from this brand? It doesn't make any sense. It's not, it ruins that customer relationship because it's inconsistent. What about digital marketing? The app. Is there a general brand app, and then there's a loyalty program app? These are some of the symptoms of a bad organizational structure,
Absolutely.
as opposed to a good integration. So there is a gray area as to where does marketing end and loyalty begin. But I think you touched on a good point, and that is none of that means that it's ideal in most cases for loyalty to sit under marketing. And I think the last point you made, loyalty has to be a goal in the pocket of everybody in the organization. And earlier you mentioned some people advocate for a chief loyalty officer, a CLO, and you sort of threw a little cold water on that. So is that perhaps necessary? The question I often ask when I go in to speak with a potential client, wearing my consultant hat, or even somebody reaches out to say, hey, do you want to work for us? I usually say, where does the CEO sit on this? What's the CEO's view of loyalty? Where does this sit in terms of executive sponsorship? Is loyalty an add-on to the marketing? We want to have a loyalty
Yeah,
program because
brilliant.
everybody else has one, or does the CEO actually understand loyalty? Do they believe in loyalty? Is there a whole of organization understanding of the customer relationship, of which a formal or not formal loyalty program or strategy is part of that? You can have a loyalty strategy without having a formal program, and certainly without having points and miles. That's not the
Yeah.
issue here. It's about what customer strategy. So I think these are interesting takeaways, and I think one of the insights that we see come through at Loyalty Summit is that every organization is different. The right structure for your organization is not necessarily the right for mine and for the next loyalty practitioners. And that makes it hard because people want an easy answer. They're like, well, how should I do it? Well, it's like, well, kind of like a lawyer would say, it depends.
Yeah.
But I think you've done a really good job of outlining some of the pitfalls and things to watch out for. Let's talk about finance for a moment.
Let's do that.
It's scary, right? It's scary. Most people, you're either a numbers person or you're not a numbers person. And people, kids learn this at an early age in school, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it the English essay that you're scared of that's due tomorrow, or is it the mathematics exam?
Yeah. Yeah.
You learn this pretty early on. The issue is that you are not going to get C-suite support for anything if you don't have an understanding of the finance, right?
Yeah.
Is that a
Yeah.
fair statement, do you think? And can you maybe speak a little bit on, your view of sort of how much of a financial understanding does a loyalty manager have to have?
So I need to put a caveat that to everyone who's hearing, I might be a little biased in this because of my background. Yeah, I'm a trained accountant, right? I mean, people don't think many people that I speak to say, "Well, you accountant, really?" I am, right? I did accounting and finance in school, pretty good at it as well. My first job, I was a financial auditor, right? And I still remembered what my first loyalty boss, who gave me a break into the whole industry, and this is what he told me, right? And I asked him, like, why the hell do you hire me for this role? I don't know anything about marketing. I don't know anything about the other part of the world. This is what he told me: Henry, you've got the left part of the brain. It's easier for me to train the other side of the brain, the right side of the brain, than the other way around. I don't know whether you agree with that, right? But that's what he told me, and he believed in it, and he gave me the chance to enter the industry. So do I think that's really important? Yes, especially so today when like people call it like the end of the zero interest rate phenomena, right? There's no more free money. Everyone, including startups, are running out of cash. What that means is that every initiative, every investment that you want to make, you need to vie with 4, 5, or even 10 other initiatives with maybe marketing, maybe with product, and you need to be able to convince the CFO and the CEO to say that invest in mine. And how do you do that? You need to be able to, number one, of course, you need to understand what are the business goals. But number two, at the end of the day, you need to prove the financials. How is it, loyalty managers can no longer get away with, hey, take a leap of faith, launch a program and see where it is 18 months from now. No more, right? That might work 10 years ago, but today you need to be able to say that in 3 months, what kind of metrics that you will show and what is the impact to the bottom line. In 12 months, what does it mean, and what kind of investment that we need from the company, and what is the returns that eventually you want to show, right? You need to be super comfortable in that discussions. You want to be part of the monthly business review where you sit there and you need to own your program like a P&L, because you do have a cost line, but you also have you have a target, you have a revenue uplift that you want to be able to display and prove that that's what your loyalty programs or loyalty initiatives bring to the business, right? Without that, I think that loyalty managers will really struggle to have their place in the company. Everyone says that, oh, loyalty needs to have a seat at the table. Well, what do you do to be invited in that table? And for me, to be invited at that table, you need to speak the language of business, right? It's not just that nice feeling of, oh, win customers loyalty, create customer experience. What does that mean in the P&L, right? It's not just the things that we write on our PowerPoint slides, but what does it show in your financial statement? You need to be able to connect the dots.
It's interesting you say that. I was quickly scrolling my LinkedIn feed this morning, as everybody does. And, the amount of loyalty practitioner posts in there that are talking about whether it's something that's newsworthy or a development in the industry or just whatever, opining on something, that are talking about, the whole, oh, it's all about experience. What does that mean? Like nobody can ever tell me what that means. It's and to be honest, even in an organization, I mean, as a consumer, what you think it means is going to be different to what I think it means. Like it's just I think that the important takeaway on that aspect is it's not always about points and miles, but stop using buzzwords as well. But you are right. I think you need to be able to talk the language. You need to be able to be comfortable, even if you don't like it, but you've got to be comfortable with setting and reporting on KPIs and other various metrics. You need to believe in them. And you need to be able to translate those metrics and KPIs into what actions do I need to take that are going to influence those. And it doesn't always work out. And sometimes you're
Absolutely.
great KPIs and metrics in one area, and on others, you're scratching your head going, how is it doing well over here? And yet it looks horrible over here. And you need to be able to explain that. But I think the other thing that's a challenge there as well, and I think loyalty practitioners need to go in with their eyes open, is that loyalty is a long game, not a short game. And you need to be able to have those discussions with the C-suite to be able to have them understand that this isn't a social media campaign. You invest today and you see the click-through report tomorrow. That's not how it works. If you're talking about customer retention or reducing churn, for example, that might be a 2-year horizon for those metrics to change. Are you prepared as an organization to invest for a minimum timeline before you decide, are we going to pull the plug on that? Now, that doesn't mean you wait 2 years without making adjustments and monitoring how things go. So,
Certainly.
but I think if you're not comfortable with at least holding those discussions, and you don't have to be the finance expert on your team, you can have somebody on your team whose sole job is the liability and breakage and the cost of a point and things like that. But you need to be able to talk the language and understand that. And I think that's a good point. I want to talk about something. I think was it today you posted or yesterday? Birthday rewards. Let's talk about birthday rewards. Let's translate some
Fantastic.
of this discussion into some practical initiatives and examples to finish up on. Talk to me about birthday rewards.
Awesome. I'm a Christmas baby, right? So what that means, every first December, I will receive a slew of emails, and God knows why every brand chooses to do it on the 1st of December, right? I'll wake up to like 20, 25, 30 emails and says happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. And of course, I will open and try to see what it is, right? But none of these perks or what they term as birthday gifts actually, like took me out, right? They're either vouchers that were sponsored by their partners, right? Because they don't want to spend any money in it. So you know how it works. And then you just, they go to the partners and say, hey, sponsor me some of birthday vouchers. And in return, you get new users, right? Which is me, the birthday guy, right? But then what does the partners do? The partners will say, yeah, okay, good. But this voucher is only valid for first-time user. But guess what? If I'm not the first-time user, too bad, Henry. You can use it. So what kind of gift is that, right? I think like if you look at birthday gifts, every loyalty program want to have it. But then if you ask them why, and they tell you, well, it's good to just send birthday gifts, right? But I think I've always found as when I was running loyalty programs, my one of the first things that I try to do if I go into a program where there was an existing birthday programs, I like to ask the team that show me the results, right? Why do you do it? Redemptions, are people happy about it? I like to hear like anecdote from it, right? uh, Inevitably I will close down that program because it just doesn't make sense to me, right? Or if I go to a program where there was no existing program, and then suddenly one brilliant stakeholder says that, why didn't we have a birthday program? And I always ask, like, why do you want to give a birthday gift? Like, what do you want to give, right? I think it gets very tricky when you call it a birthday gift, but the gift is neither personal nor special, right? And don't tell me double mouse or double points with a minimum spend of $500 is something special. It's not. It's just not, right? And why don't you just wish me happy birthday? Maybe a nice personal note. You don't have to give me any gift. And I would love that, right? And I would much prefer that. than try to stuff up. It's an exercise of stuffing things, checking the box. You must have a birthday gift, but it means nothing, right? And it really means nothing. And to me, it's like, please don't just jump on any other just because your competitor has it. Don't do it. Please ask yourself, uh, without a birthday program, does your customer's life get worse? If the answer is no, then don't do it. Like, it doesn't make sense to me, right? I know it's incredibly frustrating. I know a lot of people who I've received a few DMs, and from folks who have a lot of their birthday programs. And why are you saying it's like, my loyalty programs, our birthday programs are fantastic. It's good for you, right? Good for you. I mean, it's
If
like,
it's working,
yeah, well, they told me, well, it's working. I said that, yeah, good for you. Good redemptions. Yeah, it's good. Oh, okay, good for you, right? I mean, it's like, I know the thought, the idea behind that, it's good, but very often I think, like, in terms of executions, it's just poor, right? It, uh, uh, entertain me with my questions. Why then do all brands automate all their birthday emails on first day of the birthday month, uh, with and the same guys whose birthday in December will receive the same birthday gift in November, in October, in September? Why do you do that? Like, how is that special to me, right? So yeah, I mean, I know, like, loyalty program operators who spend time in building this might not agree with me, but for once, just think from the perspective of the recipients. If it's your birthday, if your wife, if your husband, if your girlfriend, boyfriend give you a stack of vouchers, how would you feel? Just answer me answer that question.
I mean, it's funny when I read your post, I thought to myself, I thought, there's a couple of things here. Number one is is the birthday gift a published benefit of your program, or is it meant to be a surprise and delight? If it's a published gift to your program, then that's fine. Specify what it is, and it can be consistent. So it doesn't matter what month your birthday is in, you're going to get it, right? And then the email serves as a reminder or that to let you know it's now available, But if it's a surprise and delight, don't give the same gift to everybody, and that doesn't mean you're going to have exactly one-to-one personalization, but you need to answer the question: is it a published benefit of the program or not published? If it's not published, don't act like it's a published benefit. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I think, some points you raised in your post, and I encourage everybody to go read it. But validity. Is it valid for the whole month? Is it valid for a week? Is it only valid on the day of your birthday? Terms and conditions. 10% off voucher, but you have to spend $500 to get. That's not a gift. That's not a gift at all. Or a free something of low value, but you have to spend $100 to get it. That's not a gift. What's a gift is a free cup of coffee at Starbucks, for my birthday week or whatever the validity is. Or I think it might be the whole month. I can't remember. Where, what, I go there regularly anyway. So yes, I can redeem it. I have to mention it's my, it's a fairly low hurdle, but it's easy, but it's also a published benefit. Or perhaps a free piece of cheesecake. Guess what that does? Yes, it forces me to go into the store, but it doesn't sort of feel like you're forcing me to go into the store. And I don't have to buy anything else. But of course, as the program knows, I'm probably going to have some attach of something else because I'm probably going to buy something for my spouse or my kids, or I'm going to buy an entree to go with it as well. So, that leads me to the third thing that I was thinking about when I was reading your post, and that is there's three really aspects to this, right? There is the financial obligation. How much do you want to budget for? If you are willing to give everybody $5, every member of your program $5 every year on a gift, sure, make it a birthday gift. Great, make it a published benefit for the program, free coffee, free piece of cheesecake, whatever it might be. Great. For programs and brands that have very low cost, higher perceived items that don't involve restricted inventory. So airline, you're not going to give away free airline seat, right? Those are great candidates for birthday gifts. If it actually costs you $5 to give a $5 gift, that's like giving a $5 discount. That's bad. That makes no sense whatsoever. So there's the financial aspect. If you can afford to give everybody a $5 gift for the birthday, by all means do it. and just have it consistent. May as well make it a published benefit. The second thing is what's in it for you as a brand. Give them a free piece of cheesecake. Chances are they're going to buy something else as well, but they don't have to. Great. That's a win-win because you're probably going to have, again, low cost, high margin, probably good. But the third aspect, and I think this is really where you're getting at, and this is where I don't want to say, I don't give percentages, but a unacceptably high number of brands get this wrong. What's the customer experience? Like you say, bunch of vouchers on my birthday, that's offensive. Making me spend $100 to get a $2 free item, that's offensive. That's not a gift. Think about, if you're going to give a birthday gift, think about you as a consumer at home, a family member giving you a gift with conditions and strings attached to it. And think about how that feels. So they're the three insights I was thinking about when I was reading that insight there. But we're coming up to time. But I wanted to say that the birthday post was, I think, very timely because it's a great example of the complexity of the role and the things that you need to think about, because we're talking about relationship. Yes, there's a marketing aspect to it. I mean, there's an operational marketing aspect to it. Are you delivering this through the app, through email? Are you competing with 25 or 55 other brands on the first of the month in the inbox for a birthday reward? That's going to dent, the impact of that. There's a liability, a financial side to that. There's a tech side to it. All of these things we've sort of been talking about in today's discussion. We could easily talk about this, I think, every week for the whole year. Still only scratch the surface on the challenges of a loyalty manager. But Henry, I wanted to thank you for joining us. I'm sure we'll hopefully have the chance to chat again. If you don't follow Henry on LinkedIn, I very, very strongly advise that you do. And if it's okay with Henry, we'll include the link in the description as well, for people to follow you. If you'd like some loyalty insights, or even just if you are a seasoned loyalty manager and you just want a little humor to be able to see somebody in your LinkedIn feed who's like, oh my goodness, thank goodness there's somebody else who gets it. Because typically we're very alone in our organizations and nobody else understands what it is that we do, or the challenges of the role. So Henry, thank you so much for sharing your insights. Thanks for joining Loyalty Leaders Podcast, and we look forward to speaking soon.
It's been brilliant. Thanks, David. Cheers.